In almost every other case, I would not give the time of day to individuals like the ones I'm about to present to y'all right now. Simple as that. When it comes to the likes of the fresh and fits, I simply do not take them seriously. There are individuals out there who I speak on a more frequent basis, and the reason is because they continue to espouse these, whether it is conspiracies, whether it is downright lies and disinformation, or if they just have terrible ideas that are leading to dangerous outcomes. I'll call those things out. When it comes to guys like Fresh and Fit and this entire red pill manosphere space, one which I found myself in at a certain point in my life, again, I don't take them seriously. I see them as a joke. But when I start to see stuff like this, my antennas go up and we got to get into it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check this out. Now, I've only watched a snippet of this, just enough to essentially understand where this is going. And it's stepping into that space of dangerous territory. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What do you guys think about Hitler?
What if the Jewish did something to the...
Hold up. Did it?
What do you guys think about Hitler?
What if the Jewish did something to the Germans that made them act a certain way, but nobody wants to talk about it? Like, the Jews don't want to take accountability.
They don't.
So before we go any further, I want to give a little context. Fresh and Fit is essentially a podcast featuring two guys who view themselves as these alpha males, and they basically invite these OnlyFans models or, not the brightest bulbs in the light shop sort of individuals onto their platform, and they argue with them. And essentially, they try to create this narrative of this is what women are like today, and we are the epitome of a man today. Listen to us. That's essentially what's going on there. So, just to give that little context. So when you hear some of the things coming out of whether it's the women on the platform's mouths or, the likes of Fresh, or which one's Fit? I think that's Fit. Yeah. Don't ask me. But when you hear what is coming out of their mouths, just, again, have that in the back of your head. These are not the most intelligent individuals. But, again, when we start getting into this territory and they have this amount of influence on a specific demographic, i.e. young men, etc., real dangerous territory.
What do you guys think about Hitler?
What if the Jewish did something to the Germans that made them act a certain way, but nobody wants to talk about it? Like, the Jews don't want to take accountability.
They don't.
Yes.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay.
That's why there was up to something, so the Germans wanted to take them out.
Like, payback.
It had to be something. Like, Germans wanted to take them.
Now, this is interesting because the concept of accountability is one that the Fresh and Fit individuals continue to espouse that they actually are, I guess, perpetuators of. They're always calling the girls out for not taking accountability. And, the reason why these sorts of programs or sorts of podcasts are popular, or even influencers have a certain level of resonance, is because there's enough truth in there in order to push the lies, or enough truth in order to push the conspiracy or whatever else it is that they're looking to push, right? When it's all said and done, guys like this are in it for the money. I'm not saying every single influencer, every single content creator, that is unfair, but these guys specifically, they move wherever the money is, right? They dipped into the space of controversy, etc., for controversy's sake. However, that guy right there, whose real name is Myron Gaines, Fit, he is an outright blatant Jew hater, unapologetic about it. I'm talking about he is several degrees above a guy like Nick Fuentes when it comes to this. He does not mince words when it comes to his hatred and disdain for Jews, and he just so happens to be a Muslim himself. So, surprise, surprise. Anyway, again, I'm going to get to the point at hand here, but I want to give that little buffer for us at first, because if we don't have that, then we just think these are some random guys saying random things. No, there's lore behind this.
All of them out.
They damn near
Marlon,
everybody off the map.
Something.
They started it.
So get somebody
Damn, he
that
cheesing
mad.
hard. Like, talk shit about them.
Okay. So the conversation they're having is the little mustache man may have just been the good guy. What if they actually did something to him? This is not a new idea. As a matter of fact, if you have been paying any attention to like the cultural zeitgeist right now, if you've been tapping into social media, whatever it is, there are ecosystems, spaces that are growing of people talking like that. There are so-called academics who are claiming that, well, maybe the little mustache man was, he was onto something. And instead, the Allied forces who stopped the schmatzy regime from spreading into the rest of the world was in the wrong. That Churchill was the enemy and the little mustache man was the hero in the story. That is becoming not just some fringe sort of, idea. This is making its way into the mainstream. Now, for those y'all with just half a functioning brain, you understand how idiotic that is. And for those y'all who have an ounce of humanity, you understand how disgusting that is. They're looking to minimalize the actual largest modern genocide. And the reason I say largest is not because it's the most amount of people who, let's say, were executed by a militia, government, whatever it may be. Right? We can look to Mussolini, we can look to Stalin, we can look to Mao, and we can say, well, the numbers are there. The difference is that was not based upon race. That was based upon, you could say, communism and control, totalitarian governments, etc. But when it comes to a genocide, we're being lied to right now that there's a genocide taking place in Gaza or in the Gaza Strip. No, this is an actual genocide of upwards to 6 million people. They were executed because of who they are and what they are. This was not war. In the same way we see right now with the Druze in Syria, we see with the Christians in Nigeria and Syria, and a host of several other Muslim regimes or Muslim nation states with these Islamic regimes. That is based on people's religion, their ethnicity, who they are. If in America today, because sometimes I need to bring it home in order to create a level of empathy there, right? Sometimes we're so disconnected from things. We're like, oh, that's happening over there. I get it. If in America today, a specific group of people were being targeted because of who they were, actually, not this hypothetical microaggression and all that sort of nonsense. I'm talking about actually being targeted today for who they were. And 3, 5, maybe 10 of those people were executed. That would not only be global news, but you would see an outcry. Well, of course, unless those people were Christians or Jews, because technically that's happening in America quite frequently. But let's say that these people were Muslims being targeted in America, having their lives taken on the basis of their faith. That right there would make international news. America would be charged with hate crimes if they did not do anything about it. They would be seen as an enemy of the state, per se, or the enemy of all nations. They'll be thrown out of the UN, which we should make our way out of anyway. But what I'm getting to here is 6 million people, a massive part of a population that has not recovered since. Up to this day, there's only around 14 million people who are considered Jews. If I do not stand corrected on that one, y'all can correct me in the comments. But here we have a narrative that is being pushed by individuals who are literally soaking it up. They're loving this and they're pushing it to their even dumber constituents, their dumber, whether it's guests, audience, etc. These are women who they usually are arguing with, going back and forth with, trying to get gotcha moments off of, using as a representation of what women are in order to perpetuate I guess this gender war that we're currently seeing in the modern day. And yes, feminism has done destructive things, but so has the so-called red pill movement. They're basically two sides of the same coin. But I'm gonna let this continue. I will let this continue. Where are we? And we'll continue to break this down. Even though, again, I knew what I was getting myself into, it is mind blowing.
The Holocaust was the only way he can take out a huge population, like a huge amount of Jews all in one setting. But I already know what's going on. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know, like, the Jews did something. That's why they sent up here. They're trying to take back, and get repercussions, especially from America,
They're trying to, okay. Yeah, no, I'm nitpicky today because when it comes to these types of things, we need to get all the way into it. This chick said they're trying to get their repercussions. What she meant was reparations, by the way. She meant reparations. That's the level of intelligence we're dealing with here. And I know that there are some seemingly intelligent individuals who buy into whether it is the Jews control the world conspiracies or a host of, other ones. Oftentimes, all roads lead back to the Jew, right? But what I've come to realize is there are semi-intelligent individuals, seemingly intelligent, at least intellectual individuals. Intellect doesn't necessarily equate to intelligence per se. Somebody can sound and come off intellectual, but it doesn't mean that they have just basic reason. So this is the person, the average person who is regurgitating these points. And these are the people who create the necessary grounds for a 1930s, 1940s Germany. That's you just need a large enough population who is buying into your idea. It does. The dumber they are, the better. The less they can think for themselves, the better. If you have a few seemingly intellectual, seemingly intelligent individuals thrown in, fantastic. But all you need is a smooth-brained, dim-witted individuals, the ones who are half the way there. And if you get enough of them, then you have enough of a culturally accepted, you have enough of a mob that will allow you to get away with some of the greatest atrocities. October the 7th was an attempted, and dare I even say, a genocide of sort. 1,500 people's lives taken, or roughly that estimate. Massacred. When you say taken, it takes away from what it actually was. Massacred. Innocent people massacred. 250 taken captive, being tortured, and other things that you could not imagine. And yet, the next day, we had people in the Western world holding up flags talking about we stand with the people who just did that. We are in fertile ground. That's why I'm not going to shut up about this, because I'm going to have blood on my hands if I do. And I'll be damned if that's going to be me. Some of y'all out there, and I'm not talking to you, but the person next to you, some of y'all out there who think you're on to something and you're buying into all of your favorite personalities and you're worshiping at the altar of the Candaces, at the altar of the Tuckers and the altar of the Dave Smiths, all that, and you're just going along with their narratives, you're going to have to give an account of what you did in your life. What you can't point to, well, I was misled by that one, but no. You were presented with the truth, you denied the truth, and instead, you continue to perpetuate the evil. Simple. You don't give a damn. You got a little Amerifro, like Jesse Lee Peterson says, not an afro, but a Amerifro. Don't give a damn. Got a cute little pink sweatsuit. None of that means anything if you're touting this sort of dangerous rhetoric. And again, we've reached the territories where denying an atrocity like that is seen as whatever. Imagine denying antebellum slavery. That would be, if you built a platform off of that, you would be public enemy number one. I guarantee it. So.
In one setting. But I already know what's going on. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know, like, the Jews did something. That's why they sent up here. They're trying to take back. Like, they're trying to take back and get repercussions, especially from America, like from Americans. So they're taking over the government and stuff like that.
I'm telling you, how do we take them down?
How do we take them down?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it.
My bad, y'all.
My bad. He had the plan, but his plan was just too, like, very, like, gruesome, if we can say it.
Listen,
He said,
he has to do what he has to do.
But he had to.
My stomach is turning right now. You know, sometimes almost at all times, I do my best to approach these things from a fully non-emotional standpoint. But there's a point. You know what I mean? There is just simply a point that you reach. There's nothing funny about this. There's nothing cutesy about it. You're going to be gaslit by people like this who say things like this into believing that you're the problem, right? You're going to be gaslit. They're going to use the very same tactics that their narcissistic leaders use, which is, I'm just asking questions, right? This is a violation of my free speech for people to try to essentially shut these sort of ideas down. And this is the dangerous, like what happened with the word racism. The word anti-Semitism, and I don't oftentimes use that. I call it what it is. I just say Jew hate. Call it what it is. Words like that get watered down. They get misused, they get overused, whatever it may be, and then they lose their substance. But guess what? When the actual act, when the actual thing is taking place at its most extreme level, that will be used against you to say, well, you know, I'm just going to be labeled as anti-Semitic because I'm saying, okay, then I'll call you what you are. You're a perpetuator of lies and evil. We can go with that now. And, you know, it's not your job to fight with these people because you can't. Some of them are literally they lack the intelligence. Like, there's a reason why conspiracy theories oftentimes are more appealing to a specific group of people. And that's a large enough group to mean something, because they give simple solutions to complex issues, right? It is oftentimes the person who does not have the capacity or capability or is unwilling to think something through. That's all it takes. Again, the chick who thinks repercussions and reparations are the same thing is the one telling us that the little mustache man did the right thing. And these two guys are egging it on. They absolutely love this. And let's say they get banned again on this platform. They're going to cry out, I'm being targeted for expressing my free speech. That's a tactic. You're inciting violence. How do I know? Because we had two Christian Jews, or at least one of them out of this couple is a Christian Jew, both of them Jewish, working for the Jewish embassy, who were targeted on the basis of them being Jewish. We had 9, if not 11, elderly people set on fire. Oh, mind you, all of these were committed by so-called Free Palestine activists. That actually happened in America because of this sort of conversation, because of this sort of just asking questions. When does it reach the point where we simply put our foot down, we choose a side, and we stop being cowards. There are people who remain silent, and it's crazy to me because there are people who seem to be an activist about everything, right? They're up in arms about most things. They care so much about this and this and this issue. That's why I oftentimes bring up how conspiracy theories, people are absorbed in them. They have watched 8 series of whether or not the president of France is married to a dude. They could tell you everything about that. But when it comes to the things that are actually at their doorstep, and some people think, well, because it's not me, I'm not being affected, but it is about you. It is about you. The forces that are behind what we are currently witnessing, the jihadists of the world, it's always been about you. For some, it's going to be too late to realize, but again, as long as I can help it, we're going to talk about it. I'm not going to give the rest of this any light of day. But we have been warned. And again, as much as, I may have a little bit of a larger platform, you may have 10, 20, 50, 100 people, whatever it is. Continue to tell the truth. You don't have to do it in a hateful way or whatever it may be, but continue to tell the truth. In your private conversation, tell the truth. Well, there's a genocide. No, there isn't. There isn't. There's a genocide here. What's happening to the Druze people? What's happening to what happened on October 7th? Have that conversation, because they're trying to erase that. They're trying to reinvent that. They're trying to create an entirely new narrative. And honestly, it's so they don't feel bad for their hatred. It's so they don't feel bad for what they're doing. Well, if these people didn't go through these atrocities, if I could make that so, then I don't have to feel so bad for my hatred towards them. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Aquarius. Where?
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind, I've been getting visions of the other kind, I've been up for weeks, I'm in the counting blessings over counting sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people, I ain't